The time is now 9 a.m. We will call to order the meeting for the Statesboro City Council. The date is October the 5th, 2021. We will have our invocation and pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Paulette Shavers.
Let us bow. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We move down to agenda item 3, recognitions and public presentations. We're going to have a reading of the proclamation for Georgia Cities Weeks. And it reads as follows: a proclamation by the Mayor and City Council of Statesboro, Georgia, for Georgia Cities Weeks, October the 3rd through October the 9th, 2021. Whereas city government is the closest, most citizens, and the one with the most direct daily impact upon its residents. And whereas city government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public comment to and understanding of its many responsibilities. And whereas city government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along their understanding of public services and their benefits. And whereas Georgia Cities Week is a very important time to recognize the important role played by city government in our lives. And whereas this week offers an important opportunity to spread the word to all the citizens of Georgia that they can shape and influence this branch of government which is closest to the people. And whereas the Georgia Municipal Association and its member cities have joined together to teach students and other citizens about municipal government through a variety of different projects and information. And whereas Georgia Cities Week offers an important opportunity to convey to all citizens of Georgia that they can shape and influence government through their civic involvement. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Statesboro declares October the 3rd through the 9th, 2021 as Georgia Cities Week. Be it further resolved that the City of Statesboro encourages all citizens, city government officials, and employees to do everything possible to ensure that this week is recognized and celebrated accordingly. Passed and adopted by the City of Statesboro this 5th day of October 2021. Thank you. We'll move down to agenda item 4, public comments. Leah, are there any public comments?
No, Mayor.
Okay, we'll move down to agenda item 3, consideration of a motion to approve the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes approval of the minutes for the September 21st work session, council minutes, and executive session. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let it show that agenda item 5 has passed. We'll move down to agenda item 6, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2021-36, a resolution authorizing adoption of the Bullock County Hazard Mitigation Plan, update 2020 pursuant to Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. Mr. Penny, if you'll give us a little bit of insight on that, please.
Mayor, members of the council, the county has amended the hazard mitigation plan, and each municipality is requested to approve the amended document. The importance of this document is that what it does is it's a 1,200-page document that outlines different hazards that could run into from time to time, and how we would mitigate those hazards. And so what we're being asked to do is, as a city, to simply approve a resolution in support of that amended hazard mitigation plan. There's nothing really big and phenomenal about the changes. What they typically do is go in there and amend population numbers and things of that nature. And so I do recommend it to you. This is important because if we don't do it, and we run into a situation where we get hit by a hurricane or some other natural disaster, without this approved plan in place, we would not be eligible for different federal funds that would help us in our recovery. So we do recommend the council approve the resolution.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let's move down to agenda item 7, consideration of a motion to approve resolution 2021-37, a resolution authorizing the reorganization of the Public Works and Engineering Department by amending the job position classification and compensation plan to reclassify the stormwater manager to assistant director, Public Works, and updating the pay grade of the assistant city engineer position due to additional job duties. Mr. Penny, if you'll give us some insight on this.
Mayor, members of the council, couple of things here. With this recommendation, it is important for department heads to have a good span of control. And in this case, when you have a department head and the organization is fairly flat, that means that lots of folks are coming to that one department head, and most department heads, it's the most efficient way to manage is not to have more than about 5 or 6 people reporting directly to you. It's really unmanageable to have 15 to 20 people reporting to you. And so what we're recommending here is that we have our Public Works Director, and that Public Works Director is serving as the city engineer. We're not filling the position of city engineer because it's all within the Public Works and Engineering Director. But what we are recommending is there's an assistant city engineer, add additional duties and responsibility to that position. And then over the Public Works side, we need a assistant director. And what this does, we're not going to be advertising. What we're doing is reclassifying existing positions. One example is the stormwater manager has been with the city since he was an intern. And so he has been with us over 16, 17 years. And so he has skills, and what we want to do is utilize those skills, but we also want to reward him for that effort. And the reclassification recognizes those additional duties. So it's a more efficient way of managing our folks, and it reduces the span of control for the Public Works and Engineering Director. We do save money on an engineer, city engineer's position, but we also have two division heads within the Public Works Department. We do recommend the recommendation to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let it show that agenda item 7 is passed. We'll move down to agenda item 8, which is consideration of a motion to approve the employee benefits renewal recommendation for the 2022 calendar year. Mr. Penny.
Mayor, members of the council, every year we come to you with the employee benefits renewal. We did NFP is like our overall manager. And what they do is they go out and shop the various employee benefits. And I did send this out to you yesterday, Mayor and Council. The recommendation is as to maintain Anthem as for health insurance. Anthem would also do the dental, and TASC would manage the flexible spending accounts. The only change in these benefits, deductibles and all remain the same, but the only change is in the health benefit. When we are self-funded for health insurance, and the importance of that is that no one is underwriting our health insurance. We take all the risk. But when you have self-funded insurance, there are two important pieces of insurance that you do buy. One is called specific stop loss, and one is an aggregate stop loss. Specific stop loss is for individual cases. If you had someone going to the hospital and they had $150,000 bill for that one occurrence, the specific stop loss on our current policy would kick in at $60,000. So our exposure would be $60,000, and then the reinsurance would cover the balance of that. So what the insurance company is recommending, what NFP is recommending, is that we increase that $60,000 to $75,000. If we don't increase that, chances are we may have an increase on our premium. And so what this will do is that we will be responsible for just a little bit more. We had, in your information that you have, I think we had 5 employees during this last year that reached that $60,000 number. Okay, so this year, next year, what we're saying is instead of $60,000, we'll take that risk and go to $75,000. But that's the only change in this benefit. We recommend it to you, but if council is not comfortable in proceeding, we could wait 2 more weeks. However, the only issue with waiting is that we have to do open enrollment annually. And so in November, we'll be doing open enrollment. And until you approve the renewal, we don't want to print documents. Because if you decide not to accept the recommendation, then we would want to have documents ready and that we'd have to destroy. But again, we do recommend the renewal if you're comfortable in approving it today.
Any discussion by council?
I have a question. I know it's more risk for us, for the city, but what about the employees? Is what they pay is not going up?
It's not going up. Again, this is one of those internal things for the management of our insurance program. But now, if we do see that we have a lot more experience, somewhere down the road, we may be looking at rate increases. But this year, we're not recommending a rate increase to you for 2022. And NFP has said it, and I want to be on the record, and I think I said it before, with COVID, chances are we may see some impact, but we would hope that be in 2023. And that's why it's important for folks to get vaccinated and minimize exposure, being in the hospital, because what the GMA says the average cost for a COVID patient is like $28,000. That must be the copay.
No kidding.
Because in the ICU room, $28,000 probably takes care of one day. But we would recommend, so the exposure to employees is none at all. It's just overall management of our program.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Mind if I ask, what's the percentage of employees, city of Statesboro employees being vaccinated?
At this point, we have cards on 40%.
40%?
We have 40% today. We're trying to get to 80%. And so we keep letting.
Well, last time you and I talked, it was 20%.
Well,
So that doubling, that's good.
We have cards and weekly we're letting our employees know whether we're moving toward that goal of 80%. So So I think Friday, HR sent out a note to them that said that we were 40%. We think there are quite a few employees that have been vaccinated, they just haven't turned their cards in. When we ran our vaccination clinic last week, we had some of the city employees that came in and got vaccinated, and we'll just keep pushing it and keep saying it to them.
Thank you.
Any further questions by council?
Mr. Mayor, I had a comment and a question. Yes, we want people to be vaccinated. We want people to be vaccinated so they don't get sick and make people around them sick for their own benefit. And thank you for pointing out there is this financial cost to the self-insured city that is costing us more in health benefits. But I was a little distressed to read that one of the 5 employees went over due to prescription drug expenses. I guess I'm lucky I don't have any prescriptions. It can run up to $60,000 in a year.
It just really depends on what it is, because they can be pretty expensive.
Yeah, so I'm sure we're big enough that we're negotiating with prescription coverage and generics and that sort of thing, managing the best we can.
Now, Ms. Barr, you probably got to get me a little bit outside of my
We-
area of expertise.
We
So-
have a prescription.
So I'm gonna let Mr. Bynes, if he wants to, tackle that one.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So our prescription drugs are managed by CVS, and CVS does negotiate, and it has a plan accordingly. We are aware of the employee who has the over $60,000 in claims, and we are working with CVS as well as that employee to try to come up with an amicable solution.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, our payment on drug prices will remain the same too. I mean,
Yes.
generics are covered. What if, generics are not available? Because, I mean, that happened during COVID.
Sure.
You know, what did we do about that when we couldn't buy the 3-cent a pill, and had to buy the $3 a pill?
Sure, so the prescriptions are dispensed based upon the script that's written by the doctor. And so we work directly with the physician as well as the pharmacy that the employee visits to ultimately fill the prescription. And if the medicine isn't available, then the doctor and the employee ultimately works together to come up with a different solution.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion by council?
Thank you, brother.
Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to agenda item 9, consideration of a motion to approve an amendment to the TSW contract for the downtown master plan to include services to rewrite the city's zoning to include sign ordinance and subdivision ordinance. Mr. Pink.
Mayor and members of the council, at the last council work session, we spent some time talking about the zoning ordinance rewrite. And there was a question that Council Member Chambers asked a couple of meetings ago. And recognizing that our zoning ordinance is 44 years old, and that there was one amendment that might be 20-some years old. This is a major undertaking. TSW is working on our master plan, but as a part of that, some of that zoning ordinance stuff was stuff we were talking about looking at anyway. Staff is very comfortable with the quality of work that we've been receiving from TSW. And so we recommend extending the contract with them. And as you can see, it's not cheap, $130,000, but you're also talking about a process that can take over 2 years, that will involve a lot of community involvement, a lot of meetings with sign people, folks that don't like signs, folks that do like signs, and sign vendors, but also working with developers, because there's some things, again, our ordinance just being so old, there's some things that we're missing in our ordinance, and TSW, we believe, can bring that expertise and experience from other communities that would help us develop a modern subdivision zoning ordinance. And so we recommend awarding a contract to TSW for the subdivision zoning ordinance rewrite, which includes the sign ordinance as well.
Any discussion by council?
Yeah, it was, is it 40? How much is it?
130,000.
130? Did we bid that out?
No, we didn't. And we would not bid that out. What we would do is we would do a request for proposal.
Well, okay.
Okay, and then what we would end up doing is negotiating a contract. And so instead of going through a request for proposal, we are recommending this company because we feel we like the quality of work that they do.
So TSW is the group that includes Woody Giles, the guy that ran a
Yes.
very successful public input meeting and workshop at the library back about the master downtown master plan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right, we'll move down to agenda item 10, which is consideration of a motion to award contract to American Signal for the purchase of 3 Advantage S LED portable trailer mounted message signs in the amount of $40,000. Mr. Penny?
Yeah, I'm not sure I can add any more to it, but our signs are getting some age on them.
Okay.
And so these things are important. We use them for construction work. But of late, we've had to use them for a lot more messaging. And so this is an opportunity to get some additional signs. So we do recommend, and it's included in our CIP as well.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, let it show that agenda item 10 has passed. We'll move down to agenda item 11. Consideration of a motion to award contract to Y Delta Incorporated in the amount of $176,921.23 for the South Zero Avenue and Stillwell Street intersection improvement project. Mr. Penny?
Mayor, this is a project that staff has been working on to make some improvements at Stillwell and Zedariah. We did bid that out, and although Y Delta was not the lowest bid, the lowest bid we consider to be non-responsive. They failed to submit the minority business participation information. So based on that, we do recommend awarding to Y Delta in the amount of $176,921.23.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. Any discussion by council?
Mr. Penny, at this point, this is at least the third time a contractor's failed to submit that document. Is it clear that this document is required? I mean, it seems very unusual for somebody to put together a bid of this size and to forget something like that. So can you explain to me why that might be the case?
Now, I wasn't there, but we are pretty specific when we have these bids like this. Normally, there's a pre-bid, and we walk through the process. And part of that process talks about the minority business requirement. And so why someone would not, I don't know if it's the third, I know it's at least the second one, when we did the parks, I don't know if folks didn't think we were serious about that requirement. And so, or if it's just a sheer oversight on their part. But our folks are pretty upfront and about that being a requirement.
I'm assuming there's a checklist and it's
Yes.
on the checklist?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I was wondering. I just want to dispel any myths that we're doing something untoward.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
Now, our staff has been really, they've been really good and very forthcoming since council approved this. We put the goals out there and
Hey, I gotta tell you, if you can't follow the checklist, how the hell are you gonna do our infrastructure? You know what I mean?
Any discussion by council?
Right? I mean, I'm just saying. If your doctor can't fill out the paperwork, you don't want him doing surgery on you, I'm just telling you.
So, one other point, Jason reassured me on this, but I'm just aware of the fact that this intersection is right there near the Honey Bowen, on that Lockwood Drive, where we're talking about the creek over Blue Mile and all that stormwater coming through. But my understanding is this needs to be done now, And hopefully whatever all we come up with on Creek on the Blue Mile will just fit into it. It is not really anything you can redo this now based on what might happen then. Is that pretty close?
That's correct. Yeah, there's no conflict with this project.
Thank you.
Any further discussion by council? Seeing that there is none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Let us show that agenda item 11 has passed. We'll move on to agenda item 12, other business from city council. Is there any other business from city council? Seeing that there is none, we'll move down to agenda item 13, city manager comments.
Mayor, just a couple of items. Just want to mention to you that we do have additional vaccine clinics. We have one this Saturday from 8:30 to 12:30, and that's at the Jones Love Cultural Center in Louetta Moore. And then we have another one on September 23rd, and that will be here at City Hall.
October 23rd.
I'm sorry.
October 23rd.
I'm sorry, what did I say, September, October, I'm sorry. And then, we do have another one that we will support, that's October the 16th. I think that's at Agape. We're gonna work with them. If anybody else knows of vaccine clinics that we can support, just let us know. We still have about 167 gift cards. And I'm not requesting any additional gift cards. We just want to make sure, one, people get vaccinated. But we're willing to use, as long as council authorized, we're willing to use those gift cards as incentives to get people vaccinated. So far, I think we've had 201 people vaccinated since you started offering the gift cards. On September 28th, we had 46 people that were vaccinated here at City Hall. And so we appreciate staff, and we also appreciate the Department of Public Health for their willingness to work with us. They enjoy working with us, and we enjoy working with them as well. Then the last thing, one just mentioned, we talked about the ARPA funding at the last meeting, and so we're gonna have some public input meetings. We have 3 dates that are set. One is this Thursday at 6:00 p.m. here in the council chambers. And that will, we'll walk through what we have proposed, but we just say to the public, it's an opportunity to hear what we're talking about, but we also need to hear what you're thinking about. And what we need to make sure is that whatever we're doing is in compliance with what the funds will be allowed to be used for. And so then we have another one on October 12th. That's a Tuesday, and that'll be at Crossroad Community Church. And then on Saturday, October 16th, at 10:00 a.m., we'll be at the City of David Worship Assembly on Institute Street. And so we want to invite the public to come out and to hear our presentation, but also bring ideas and thoughts that on ways the funds can be used.
And Thursday is what time?
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
Right here.
Right here in council chambers. That's all.
Mr. Penny, how are we marketing this to the community?
Yeah.
We've done a press release, and I think we have it on our website.
We do, so it's on our website calendar, it's also on all of our social media channels as well. I believe, Al, have you published anything in the, yep, so there's something in the Herald as well. So we're getting it out in multiple avenues.
I guess we can build a process for
Yeah.
work in our circles too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, try to get it out. So,
I mean, we can do additional flyers if folks want to post them at some churches and stuff like that. We can do that as well.
We're getting the word out that we're there to explain what we understand it can be used for, what the proposals are, but also open to new ideas.
Yes.
If citizens have ideas about how we should use this federal relief money,
They need to let us
come and
know.
share.
Right.
Well, and that was a little bit of my concern, that all 3 of these meetings are within a 10-day period. And October is a very busy month. very busy. So, I mean, I hear what Sherry's saying, or Councilwoman Barr, Councilwoman, excuse me. That, but I'm just thinking we may need to spread this out a little bit, because again, we're picking a very busy time. We got Fair Week coming up, we've got homecomings coming up, we got marching band competitions, we got all kinds of stuff going on. October is very busy. I realize we gotta get going and we gotta spend the money, I understand that. But at the same time, I feel like sometimes when we rush, we don't get the community engagement that we could otherwise have. And most folks are only finding out about this now, so.
Yeah, again, we can do whatever council would like us to do, but there are some really tight timelines. If we're going to get the housing money out, we've got to, right now, we're doing a request for proposal because we don't have the infrastructure to do housing, but we don't want, at some point, I need to bring this back for you to bless the plan. And so that's part of our urgency, but we could go later into October. But let us do these three, and if we feel like, let's see what kind of participation we get. And if we feel like we need to add a couple, our staff is more than willing. But my hope was to come to council, either, it could be the first or the second meeting in November, for you to bless what we're proposing or any amended plan, so that when we're talking about doing a contract, if we want to meet the housing goal of starting to do work in the first quarter, by the end of the first quarter of 2022, I got to get people on the ground, ready to work, and so that we can publicize what we're doing. And that's part. Some of the stuff, we will always maintain flexibility because every nickel is not exactly spent. But we also just want to be able to implement as fast as we can. Because we have until, I think, the end of 2026 to actually spend all the money.
Yeah. That's what I was suggesting, maybe we didn't need to rush so much because we got some time to spend, so.
I'm gonna follow your guidance.
Any further discussion by council?
So there's no update yet on the possibility of some of the money going to help fund a new food bank? That's still just in negotiation with the county?
There's no update on this bar, except we know that the application for the $1 million is due on December 10th, and the county is currently out soliciting proposals for an architect, because it's quite a bit of planning. There's still talk about the land. So there are a number of things moving on that. There's also some interest from about different components. Currently, Rebecca's Cafe, I think I got it right, was housed at school. I think they're not actually operational now.
Correct.
How will they exist? And can it be accommodated? So there's some discussions, and all of those things are currently going forward. But the county, I'm confident will meet the deadline, and hopefully the land we'll be able to get that land taken care of pretty quickly. But we need to have site control when we submit that application.
Thank you, sir. That reminds me of one other thing. Do we have any update on our bus system, on transit, on supply chain, when that might happen?
No, I think the last word we got was November, but I'm thinking it's gonna be sometime in 2022 before, but we'll check, and maybe at the work session in October, November.
In October now.
No, we have one, maybe in 2 weeks, we can tell you a little bit more about where we are with that.
Thank you.
Anything else from council? Okay. All right, we'll move down to public comments. Any public comments? All right, seeing that there are none, is there a need for executive session? Okay. Seeing that there is not, we'll move down to agenda item 16, consideration of a motion to adjourn. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Statesboro, have a great day.
Thank you.